came to St. Petersburg not from a good life, but to earn money. In my region, a job is a luxury. People pay bribes to get a job somewhere, and in a big city, workers are always needed. And the salary, by my standards, is not bad. So, I came to work in a warehouse as an order picker. And I was going to live in a room in a communal apartment. I didn't like that house. I know that in St. Petersburg the courtyards of the well are a landmark. A patch of sky among the walls and windows in the photographs looks interesting. But being in such a courtyard is not very pleasant. Wrought iron grating. Entrance through the gateway. Like a mouse hole, and I'm at a dead end. Enclosed spaces make me anxious. Besides, the yard was not very clean. Notebook sheets were scattered everywhere, handwritten. Like someone's letters without envelopes, soaked in puddles. The text is incomprehensible. I do not like garbage. House without an elevator. I went up to the 6th floor with my suitcase and backpack, all out of breath. Knocked on the apartment. The door opened, and no one was outside. A long dark corridor and closed rooms. At the hangar there is a whole pile of shoes, covered with a layer of dust. Is there anyone? I called as I entered. An old man stepped out into the corridor, lean and stooped like a bent nail. He was as old as can be, bald, face wrinkled and brown spots. Gold-plated fixes shone in his mouth, gray hair on his chest. He was dressed in a shabby dressing gown, holey t-shirt and underpants with outstretched knees. Go. I'll show you the room, he said and shuffled his slippers. I took off my shoes, hung up my jacket and rolled my suitcase. The room looked better than the corridor. The furniture, the wallpaper is old, but that was the charm. You can't change or move anything. Let everything stand in its place, said the grandfather. I didn't want to, in principle. Everything suited me. The only thing I didn't like was the carpet on the wall. It was worn down to the threads and fringed along the edges. How do you love things so you don't throw them away? And whose money? I asked. Give it to me, said the old man. I took out my wallet and paid. Grandfather looked into the open backpack and suddenly asked, Give a pack of buckwheat for everyone. Yes, take it. For God's sake, I replied. If you need anything else, take it. Don't waste your food. Hide up. The old man took a bag of cereal and left. Old St. Petersburg, I thought. Food is sacred to them. The kitchen was full of people. Women and men silently stood in all directions. One asked me, Do you have any cigarettes? I shook my head. The old man was stirring the liquid brew in a large saucepan. Others seemed to be waiting for dinner. I was surprised by this pandemonium. There are more people than rooms. Are they all my neighbors? Then it will be tight. In the kitchen, in the shower toilet, you have to stand in line. What if it's urgent? I decided to go straight away before it was busy. The state of the toilet was appalling. I have not seen such an ancient bathroom for a long time. The toilet bowl is all red from rust. A cast iron barrel hung from the ceiling. The descent is a salted rope, pipes stuck out, and behind them was a black hole in the wall. I had the feeling that they were looking at me from there, yes, and it blew a draft. I just found a sheet of plywood in my room under the bed. I took and closed the hole in the toilet behind the pipes with them. But not only there was such a problem. I went into the kitchen after everyone had left, in the wall, almost at the very ceiling. There was such a hole that a person could climb through. I stood on a stool and looked over there. Impenetrable darkness. Do not touch. Grandfather's voice squealed like a needle through glass. I was all overwhelmed. I don't touch anything, just looked. I tear in a stool. You closed the hole in the toilet. The old man got too excited. Who asked you? I told you. Don't touch anything here. Everything should be as it is. All right, Father, I understand. I wanted my grandfather to calm down. although I did not understand at all what he was so afraid of. The residents of the communal apartment were constantly roaming along the corridor. No matter how you go, you are bound to run into someone. There were probably 5 people living in each room. I'm lucky that at least I have a separate one. After 2 days on the train, I smelled decently afterwards, and the next morning I had to go to an internship. I decided to take a shower while it was free. The shower room was terrible. The faucet is sandwiched between 2 walls. If I wasn't so slim, I wouldn't fit. The lamp was barely warm, and the water was a little warm. It is simply impossible to enjoy water procedures in such conditions. I lathered my head and suddenly saw that the tiles were missing in the wall on the right. And from there, as if through a window, eerie pale eyes were shamelessly looking at me. "Go away," I yelled, washed off the foam, quickly wiped myself off, dressed and went to sort it out. In the corridor, I asked the first woman I came across what was happening in this communal apartment. "You don't understand who is watching in the walls from there, but you can't close them. Who likes to be watched? I can't help you," the woman said, weary, and retired to her room. These are strange people. I was so angry that I wanted to immediately take the money from the old man and leave this place. But where would I go at night looking? In the morning at the internship, I will ask the workers where it is better to settle. And then I will take a suitcase, a backpack, and get out of here. It was already late. I made my bed and lay down. In the communal apartment after 11, no one made noise or shuffled under the door. Everyone was quiet in their rooms, and thanks for that, but I fell asleep and woke up again. I could not extinguish the feeling in myself that someone was looking at me. The door was closed. Where did that oppressive look come from? Waking up again, I saw a face. A head sticking out from behind a carpet on the wall, looking at me with dull eyes of glass. A cold wave washed over me from head to toe. I am alone in a strange room in an unfamiliar city, and something terrible is looking at me, so I got scared. People do not have such huge heads. There are no such faces. Only eyes and an open mouth. I sat down, began to play pranks on the wall, felt for the switches. A light came on and it slid over the carpet. Nothing stuck out under the fabric. Only the fringe swayed. I got up and pulled back the carpet. Another hole was hidden under it. Hollow wall, darkness. Something other than people lived in this apartment. It lived in the voids of the walls, and everyone put up with it. Someone had to explain everything to me. I went out into the corridor and made a noise. Immediately, my grandfather appeared in a dressing gown, began to hiss at me, drove me back into the room and entered with me. "Quiet, quiet, kissed already. Yes, we are not the bosses here. Knit and Clean lives here and watches over us. Couldn't you have warned me right away?" I asked, though I knew I wouldn't have believed it anyway until I saw it. The old man transferred everything to me. "Did you come yourself? Who called you here?" "How do I know who?" At the station they shoved a small piece of paper into my hands. Room for rent. There was no phone, only the price and the address. Modest price, just what was needed. I don't remember who gave me the paper. "Grandfather, calculate from me for the night and return the money," I demanded. "I'll leave in the morning. I don't know how you all live here. I'll give you your money if you need it." The old man promised in the morning, but they are not needed. I will leave him as a gift. "How? Just calm down now," the grandfather begged. "He won't touch you yet. Don't make a fuss. People are sleeping." I did not like the way he expressed himself, which meant until he touches. And then touch. No, the morning will come, and only I was seen. The old man is gone. I couldn't find my phone. It seemed to fall through the ground. And I forgot when I last saw it and where I left it, and suddenly I lost it on the street. Something unfortunate. I arrived. One misfortune after another. I didn't turn off the light in the room. I sat up until dawn, looked out the window and kept looking back at the carpet. Is there a creepy face in there? As it became lighter, I packed all my things, put my suitcase and backpack out into the corridor. The phone was never found, but at that moment it seemed the least of a problem. The tenants of the communal apartment came out of their rooms, eager to see me off. That old man was there too. "All right, father, give me the money. I'll go," I spoke. Everyone looked at that old man as if they were waiting for him to tell me something important. "Don't go, stay here," that old man mumbled. I got scared. I thought they didn't want to let me go. "What do you mean, don't go? What's wrong?" "I need to work. Look over there. See the hole?" Grandfather pointed with a hooked finger towards the exit. "If you go, the unclean one will immediately grab you and tear you apart. Do you think if we could go out, we would stay here? The impure one does not let anyone out. Stay in a room if you want to live." I looked at the doors as I entered and didn't notice it. In the wall to the right of the castle there is an ink gap in the height of a man. "Money." I extended my hand. His fingers trembled like those of an alcoholic. The old man sighed and put all my banknotes in my palm. Didn't even report back. I went to the threshold, and immediately an impossible huge face appeared in the dark gap. Long arms stretched out of the darkness, sharpening their yellow nails. I gave it back, tripped over my suitcase, and rolled to the floor. The tenants of the communal apartment decided that I had learned my lesson and dispersed. The old man tried to help me up, but there was no strength in his weak body, and he himself almost fell. Grandfather took me to the room, and while I was recovering from the shock, he explained how life works in this communal apartment. It's impossible to get out of here. It's impossible in any way. The unclean will not let go. Those who tried died. The grandfather himself and some other people had lived there for a long time, and never once went beyond the threshold. I didn't believe. "Then what are you eating here?" "Food is difficult." Grandpa looked at my backpack. "We're starving. Beginners bring something. Then we eat. We put something aside, save up for a rainy day, grow seeds on the windows, catch sparrows." The old man considered it most important to say that sooner or later I would have to vacate a separate room and move into one of the common ones. That evil that dwells in the voids of the walls will choose and drag off one of the tenants when it gets hungry. Then a place will be vacated for a new person. He will have all the privileges. You live here for the time being. It will not touch you. They will choose from among us, and then, as fate draws, said the grandfather, and left me alone. I searched the room again looking for the phone. Where does he go? Or maybe it was pulled out of my pocket when I first crossed the threshold of the apartment. The situation seemed hopeless to me, but I refused to believe that I was forever stuck in this communal apartment. There must be a way. To get out, I looked out the window, 6th floor. Down only to fly and crash. The courtyard is always empty. Does anyone come here at all? The idea came to me to write a note, throw it out the window, and wait for rescue. And then I remembered the soaked notebook sheets that were lying at the entrance. These were notes from those who got here earlier. I've tried everything before me and nothing worked, so I sat in the room all day. I didn't get acquainted with anyone. I didn't want to join. I didn't want to be like them, who accepted everything. Doomed. In the evening, the old man brought me a bowl of stew with grains of buckwheat and a piece of poultry meat. I didn't touch. I was sick of the sight of this food. The carpet moved during the night. Crooked nails grew under the fringe. The head was rounded under the cloth. The carpet twitched to the side like a curtain. A face was sticking out of the wall. It was impossible to read emotions on it. It just looked at me, and I sat, pulling the blanket around my neck and whining in horror. Dull eyes bored me until dawn, and I didn't sleep. Grandfather came in the morning. I saw that the stew was not eaten. Silently raised the bowl to his lips, drank and left. Didn't tell me anything. I wondered how much longer I could hold out before horror and hopelessness burned out all my mind. And I will become the one who sits in the corner, rumples his shoulders, and looks at the wall with an unseeing gaze. For the whole day I only went out to the toilet. I tried not to look through the gap behind the pipes. There was nowhere to hide from the feeling that I was being watched. What to do? How to get out of here? Has no one been chosen? I did nothing, but I was dead tired. Fear and discouragement robbed me of my last strength. I finally managed to fall into a sound. Sleep. I slept until a cold hand touched me. Mallets, I yelled, waved my arms and legs, until I realized that it was just an old man. He came to my room late at night. I was a little let down, and I asked him what he wanted. I thought it over. Grandfather whispered in his ear. Enough with us. Let's make a deal. I will go to the threshold. The unclean one will seize me, Let, and you will run away at this time. My chest trembled at those words. The old man wanted to help me get out of this communal apartment. Father, what will happen to you? I asked carefully, afraid that he would change his mind. It doesn't matter. The grandfather bowed his bald head. I'm tired, sometimes I think. Let the unclean one takes me away. And he lacks young, healthy ones. How many of these have disappeared here? But I still live. I'm afraid of something. Yes, it's time for me. I'll distract him, and you'll run away. Agreed. How was it to refuse? I seized on this opportunity like a drowning man at a straw. He took out sneakers from his suitcase, put on his shoes, and was ready even now. The main thing is not to forget about others. Tell everyone. Grandfather sighed heavily and crossed himself 3 times. God, forgive me for everything. There was light in the window. The black night was replaced by an early dawn. The old man left the room. I follow him. He, trying not to shuffle, walked to the threshold of the apartment, to the dark gap, and as soon as he touched the door, long arms clasped his weak body, twisted into a horn. A head popped out of the breached teeth, sank into the old man's side. The monstrous eyes shone. The old man screamed and writhed in agony. It ate him alive, and I had to run. But I was like nails nailed to the floor. Does not work. Nothing works. I do will be twisted, broken and swallowed up. What are you standing for? Croaked the grandfather in agony. Run. Was not. I ran headlong, slipped past the old man, who was already half lost in the pasta. Kicked the door with me. I ran down the steps, flight after flight. Heard how the grandfather publishes dying groans. His last words stuck in my ears, as if I can still hear him. He shouted, "Tell me about the rest. Tell everyone. Here I am telling you."